Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Simply Monique Radio Show. I'm your host, Monique, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest, Dr. Terrence House. He is a U.S. Army and Iraqi war veteran, a lifelong learner, avid reader, a writer and entrepreneur, and a specialty INFJ, which we're going to kind of dive into that today on the show. A little bit about him. His maternal and paternal fathers, they were sharecroppers. His mother and his father, they picked cotton in the Jim Crow South. And we all, if we haven't already, are kind of a little bit familiar about that, but we want to talk about that as well. He's the first generation born up in the northern part of the Great Migration. That is pretty cool, right? Of course it is. He grew up in the impoverished Fort Heights of Illinois. He says, where I cut my teeth and developed a stomach for endurance during the hard times and uncertainty. And definitely, ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some hard times and uncertainty in this 21st century, wouldn't you say? Well, welcome to the show, Dr. House. Please let our listeners know a little bit more about you outside of what I've shared.
Well, I was actually born in Elkhart, Indiana, about 70 miles west of, or 70 miles east of Chicago.
Okay.
And when I was like 5 years old, well, in first grade, that's when we moved to Fort Heights, me, my mom, and my sister. And I always told myself, I think that Fort Heights was more for me, more so than for those two women. They made the sacrifice of staying there and with me during the good times and the bad times. So.
Yes, well, I definitely understand that. I definitely understand that. Sometimes the locations where we are growing up and we experience certain things, the atmosphere can be a positive or a negative, and it can be really influential. And speaking of being influential, I see that you served in the military. So during that time, as far as you transitioned, you became an adult, you joined the military. How, having served in the military, doing Operation Iraqi Freedom, how would you say that impacted your life, your career? Because I know that was a tough time.
Well, the impact of that deployment opened my eyes to, the realities of violence and how life can be snuffed out at any moment. And, and just looking back, when I initially wanted to join the military, I think I was in third grade, and I knew I wanted to get out of poverty, and that was my only avenue. And, but that experience in Iraq was surreal. The violence, the attempts on, the lives of the soldiers around me and stuff like that. It was a real eye-opener.
For sure. My brother-in-law and my sister actually were in the Army. My family we have a military background, so I definitely can understand and relate because I served as well. And so I definitely can understand that being an eye-opener, especially seeing violence and the many lives that were lost during that time frame, that era specifically. Now, you said when you was in third grade that you knew you wanted to serve your country, you wanted to be in the military, that was your way out of poverty. How do you think, at such an age you were then, compared to the young people now, you knew at that time, like, this is my way out, not just because of the circumstances, you like, this is what I'm going to do? How could you come up with such a bold idea for your life at that age?
Well, I was just looking at, I liked how the military moved. Back then, I was a big fan of the Marines. I liked how they dressed, I liked how they moved, I liked everything about that. And, and I remember, quite specifically when I was in third grade, we were in this classroom. It was basically a trailer they called the mobile units. And I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago, but in the dead heat of like February time frame, the heat went off and we were taking our spelling tests with our hats and gloves on, and it was no heat, and the state wouldn't do anything about it, and I knew then nobody was coming to save me.
Wow, but that's ridiculous. That kind of reminds me, so this age-old narrative, if you will, when it comes to the education system and how the brown and black people alike, when it comes to the education system, how there were things that were not fixed even during the time when you were coming up. And now the fact that you guys were there and there was no heat, no power, no heat. You guys were suffering, which is ridiculous. Right. I'm not gonna get on my high horse because I feel like I'm about to go into this whole little But
I ain't want to trigger nothing. I mean, but it is what it is. And I was sitting there and I remember, I was using my gym socks as my gloves when I was taking my spelling test, and it was several people in the classroom. They were like, "Forget it, it's too cold in here,"
Right,
and kids that grew up in Chicago, they're a little bit more advanced than I was, coming from previously Jim Crow South family. So we were lagging behind as far as being an adult or anything like that.
It makes sense. That does make sense. I will say this. I noticed in the South versus the North, the education difference there. Some people are more advanced when it comes to the school systems. And I know that even in my family, we're having some of my relatives who were military family members. And so they had traveled and gone from different states, and the school system is different because they could be more advanced in these subjects. And you guys are just learning this. It's amazing how that difference, What'd you say?
Absolutely. I say, absolutely. I agree 100%.
So now your book, I was trying to find your book, but I could not find it. So tell us a little bit about your book, because you have a story, just a little bit that I've heard so far. I feel like there's so much meat there. So tell us about your book. We can only digest so much, in this time we have together.
Right. Well, the story is about Tidye Pickett. She was the first black woman to run in the Olympics for the United States. And when they first told me the story, and as a little boy, you're looking at, all the adults and the grandparents, and at that time she was the same age as my grandmother, and I was like, I don't think she ran in anything. But she always had these gigantic calves. Her calf muscles were so big, and back then women wore dresses and skirts all the time. They didn't really wear jeans back then. But anyway, they said she was the first black woman ran in the Olympics, and when she was qualified and she was about to get her gold medal, she was replaced by her and another lady on the team. The black lady was replaced by two white women that didn't even qualify. So here in Los Angeles, they were cheated out of their chance and their opportunity to get a gold medal. And that's the book, Olympic Omission, that I wrote, and it's on Amazon.
I love that story. I love that story that you wrote about it. Because I was looking, I was like, where's this book? And like, so many people. I was like, man, is it under a different name? Yes. But that you were inspired to share that story, which is awful that happened to her. So I definitely I'm going to look more into that for sure. So you were inspired and you wrote that book, and how she was relatable to your grandmother. So you birthed that book out in relation to your grandmother. So my question would be, because you said you're an avid reader, but my question would be, what 3 points of advice would you share with those who become an aspiring author? Would you say go the route as far as with your grandmother, how that was inspiration? She usually equates to your grandmother's age and her being omitted? Or would you say, due to what you experienced and what you've seen, you want to touch bases on the issues in the black community?
I think more of the latter. I think that an aspiring author should bring themselves to their story and to their craft. Don't try to imitate nobody else, because then it'll show in your writing. So, my advice is to always bring yourself and put yourself into your work and into your craft. And that's how, it'll set yourself apart from everyone else.
I love that. I always like to do little gems. I call them tidbits. And so one thing that you mentioned was don't try to intimidate. Why can't I get my words out today? Oh, my goodness. Don't try to imitate anyone else, and bring yourself into the craft, right? Which is so important. Which is so important, being authentic. And so you feel as a writer, is that the best way to reach your audience? Is that the best way to increase your sales? Is that the best way to tell your story?
That's the best way to tell your story, and it gives you more content that's easy to write because it happened to you personally.
For sure. Would you say in today's time, since we have the whole chat GPT, the AI, everything, which reminds you of something that I don't know if you're aware of this. A young man, 14 years old, committed suicide Tuesday. He was using this thing called character AI. The 14-year-old Sewell committed suicide using the chat, using the AI, character.ai, and it was communicating and saying he wanted to be with this AI, this fictitious person, wanted to be with them and commit suicide using that. And so now a lot of writers are jumping on the bandwagon using chat GPT and stuff. Do you think using chat GPT has changed the course of authentic writing?
No, I think if it's done correctly, if you use any type of tool correctly, but anytime you take something and you there's not a bunch of parental guidance or checking up on our children and monitoring those type of things, horrible things always happen. And that's just like anything else with Facebook and all. I've seen kids commit suicide off of Facebook, but you have to monitor those things. You can't have our kids on there 24/7 or gaming 24/7, no reading, no imagination, no creativity going on. It's just, interaction with the outside world, and some of those people don't have, good intentions.
Yes, which is true. Some people don't. I read a lot of reviews and a lot of comments, and people were saying that she should have been more an involved parent, but her son dealt with depression.
Right.
Yeah, he had already dealt with depression, so that just kind of added it. And apparently the chat AI thing, the character AI, encouraged him to do so. So, because he said he was scared. He said he was scared. The conversation said that he was scared, and it was encouraging, which is like, man. But you are right in terms of giving our children an opportunity to do things outside of the box. I remember going outside as a kid. We was outside all the time. I had to be in the house when the street light came on.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'll never forget. We were kids and we did not make it. Oh my goodness, we knew we was in trouble. We didn't make it. We just sat on the porch and like, hey, who's going in first? Man.
Yeah, I remember those days. The days of playing kickball and just playing from sun up to sundown. Because my grandmother, she used to watch us, and she was a big, she watched the soap operas and Price is Right and all that. And we dare not come in before nap time.
Listen, right? Because Victor and her and my aunt, my grandmother and my aunt, they watch their shows, man. They watch their shows. At one point I could tell you was on there. What time? I knew, and then we knew dinner time because she had like John Wayne and Walker Texas Ranger, and as time at certain times or whatever, you knew this time this show came on at that time, such at grandmother's house, certain times, certain TV shows is on, so. But now TV is different.
But another thing about Miss Phillips at the time when we went on our field trip, and we went down to downtown Chicago to the Johnson Cosmetics. And so we go into this long corridor and they're showing how they make Afro Sheen and all that, those type of products. And then we walked past this big glass door, and there was this man sitting in his barber's chair, and he was getting his shoes shining. He was wearing a very nice suit and tie, and his haircut was like impeccable. And I looked down at my shoes, and I looked at his, and I was like, I want to look like him. And you know who it was? It was Mr. Johnson. It was Mr. Johnson that started Afro Sheen and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that is awesome, man. I love that.
I want to look like him.
Wow, not even knowing. Look who you. Wow.
Yeah.
But that's such a positive role model. Look what he did. And Afro Sheen is still sold to this day. Like they have expanded their product, their market line. So that I'm just saying. But to have that inspiration, I'm definitely grateful. And just to hear this, I hear what you're sharing. The tidbits of like when you were in third grade, you knew you wanted to join the military. You wanted to escape poverty. You had a mindset of escaping poverty. Then when you saw another man that looked like you, quote unquote, but you saw how he took care of himself.
Yeah, how he looked.
How he looked.
Like a king that was on a throne. I was like, I want to look like him.
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Like, yes. How a black man, how he took care of himself, how he had pride that was exemplified. So those things that was instilled in you, because obviously the lack of the father figure or male figure in your life wasn't heavily present. But here it is something that struck a nerve in you. Like, this is who I want to look like, and I want to look like this person here. And so, as a result, I've seen you have a doctor's degree. You went the whole nine. You didn't stop at a bachelor's degree. You went to the whole nine and got your doctorate. So, accomplishing that, right? How would you say, and did you say that little boy that grew up around and come with a family from Jim Crow South to be here in 2024 with a doctor's degree, knowing where you came from, escaping poverty, to now being this prolific speaker, author, Iraqi veteran?
Well, I mean, it comes with a great deal of humility, you know, and and I look at the whole gamut of the family ordeal or whatever. Because I don't know if ever heard of Son House. He was the father of blues, the blues. He's like the third cousin of mine, and I'm trying to get him nominated to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he heavily influenced both Muddy Waters and what's the other one? Robert Johnson, that wrote Sweet Home Chicago. And
no, I did not know that. I heard of them too, but I did not know that.
Yes, you go back into the history books, and they'll show you Eddie James' Son House, but his stage name was Son House. And Muddy Waters, he influenced Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson. And so, I'm trying to get him, his just due and stuff like that. So, I think everything just goes full circle. I mean, and you have to be grateful. You can't think that, to me, I think I'm just doing all the easy work because, my dad and his brothers and siblings and stuff, they used to pick cotton for like $1 a day or something like that, something ridiculous like that. And it's like, I can't walk around and with my chest puffed out and stuff because they did all the hard work. I get to, I was fortunate enough to do the easy work.
Yeah, I love that perspective. Like, as far as, like, they paved the way, did all the hard work so that you were able to be the man that you are today. And so I love the fact that being humble and you're not prideful or arrogant about it, which says a lot. I think about as far as your upbringing too, and the influence that the people that you were around. I believe the people that we surround ourselves with, Dr. House, makes a difference. They says bad company corrupt good men. The Bible talks about that. And my mom used to always say, she used to always tell us, dare to be different, dare to be different. And so what would be something growing up that you carry now? I keep that with me now, the statement that she said, dare to be different. What's a statement from your childhood or even your young adult life that you may have heard growing up from your grandparents or your parents that you carry with you now?
I just feel that one of the things that related from some of their sayings is that there isn't anything that can happen in this lifetime that I can't, handle. And they used to always talk about carrying burdens and things of that nature and stuff like that. But now I'm just at the point of life where, like, I was disappointed with the election outcome and stuff like that. But I was like, it's nothing that will happen in my lifetime that I can't handle. So
that is true. Well, that is true. I'm glad you didn't take the route that I've seen some people do. They stopped talking. There's been some, I'm like, man, like, it's been some stuff happening right now. Like,
oh, absolutely. But it's nothing that we haven't seen before in this country,
Yes, which is very true. Which is very true. So I would say just how we handle a situation. That's what matters. And we move forward. You pick up the pieces, you pick up the pieces and you move forward. Everything happens for a reason, how things are structured, how it's planned. We don't know, but we do. You handle the cards that was dealt. You may get a bad hand when you're playing space or something like that. You just got to deal with it, figure out, what I'm saying, how to make it through the game.
That's right. You respond with your conduct.
Yes. I like that quote. Let me write that down too. I can recall it back to the audience. Yeah, I'm literally writing it down. So some nuggets that you said so far that I want our audience to recapture. was when it comes to being an author, if you want to be an author, to publish your book, being a writer, don't try to imitate anyone else. Bring yourself into it. As far as being authentic, responding with your conduct. And there's nothing in life that you can't handle, that you may experience that you can't handle. I may have paraphrased that one, but just trying to make sure our audience regather that. Now, the other question I want to ask you, Dr. House, would be being an entrepreneur. Do you find it challenging, like to maintain influence, keeping abreast of what's going on? And it seems like something new coming out every day with technology, with business. It's like the new BOI, beneficial ownership, something of another. I forgot what it's called, BOI. A new requirement from the IRS to prove that you're a legit business. How are you maintaining, I guess I would say, staying afloat or being relevant when times are changing as an entrepreneur?
Well, like you said, there are things always trending. Policies and tax codes and all those things are always changing. But my advice to people, to young entrepreneurs, is to stay abreast as far as your reading, not with the 23,000 pages of tax codes or nothing like that, but as far as things that are trending in the industry. The first thing, as far as industry is concerned, is to learn the language. You learn the language of your industry or your craft, and learning the fundamentals. And as long as you stay adhered to those type of things, you really can't go wrong. They change a little bit, and they make tweaks and adjustments to business, but they really haven't changed since the days of the 60s and 70s and things like that. They really haven't changed.
Okay, that's your key point. Okay, not a problem. Well, I know you mentioned earlier where we can get your book, but how could someone get in touch with you, to follow you, to book you for some major speaking engagements, or just to have, even to get your services as far as being a mentor to them?
Well, you can hit me on my email address. It's thousemba@gmail.com. I know I should have had the doctor, but things happen so fast I didn't have a chance to react. But it's thousemba@gmail.com before I got to the doctorate level. So.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's okay though. But this is awesome though. So I would say this because that's one of my goals, is to get my doctorate. So and I've heard a lot of horror stories. I've heard some good stories. So but someone in my shoes, anything that you would share for those? Because there's a few people I know that's pursuing their doctors. I will be pursuing mine and get through this next phase here. But what, I guess, would you say was the most challenging part of completing your doctorate, and what was the easiest thing to do?
The hardest part will probably be the research. But before you even get to that, always outline your stuff, because it can streamline, and you won't be trying to reach around in the dark and trying to navigate your way as far as the whole process is concerned. Do your outlines, do your research, do your reading, and have fun with it. Don't try to do something and think you're gonna win a Nobel Prize off of it or something like that. Be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself throughout the whole process, because that was the toughest thing for me. Because most of the time for introverts and people built from the neck up, they're pretty hard on themselves, and they get into this rut and stuff like that. And, just relax and take it, because if you didn't come this far just to come this far, and we done been through worse. I always tell you that we've been through worse as a people in this country. So, a doctorate is just another, feather in the cap, so to speak.
Understand. Well, I want to reiterate some numbers that you share with us, so our audience can really grasp it. I want you guys to, if you're striving to be I'm saying the wrong word, if you're striving to be an author or even writing, don't try to imitate somebody else. Bring yourself into your work. Be authentic. Whenever you're in a situation that you're facing, remember there's nothing that you can't handle. And when a situation that does occur and you don't like it, respond with your conduct. That doesn't mean you have to be overly anxious or fearful or worried or rude or even disrespectful. But your character will take you a lot of places, if you will. as far as being an entrepreneur in this world, today's society. Make sure you learn the language of your industry or your craft. Last few things here, I think this just applies in general. Be easy on yourself. Be kind to yourself. And just relax. And I'll say trust the process, because it's not an easy road. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir. Was there any last things you wanted to add or say?
No, I think that was pretty much it. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and share some of my life experiences with the audience.
Well, I'm glad to have you, Dr. House. I know you are a busy person. I appreciate your service to our country, your service to the black community, if you will, and to America in general. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, here's a word from our sponsors. You all stay up, be blessed, and peace.
Hey y'all, it's Taisha and Bryant, the Parent Healer, and I support the Simply Monique Show, a show for real people about real conversation. Tune in every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I am the founder, CEO of We Have a Purpose Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that provides prevention and intervention services for at-risk youth and their families. I am also the owner of Resilient Family Wellness, where we specialize in parent and emotional distress coaching. We believe that our parents must heal so our kids can live and break from the cycle of pain. Speaking of pain, have you ever been involved in a car accident? If so, have your attorney contact us for your coaching after the crash, where we enhance your life and your settlement. Remember, your mental health is just as important as your physical health. While we're here, head on over to www.taishaandbrian.com and grab my books, Imperfectly Perfect, 3 Steps on the Parenthood Journey, and Resilience Over Regret, a journey of teen pregnancy, faith, love, and family. Yep, your girl's an author too. Again, this is Taisha and Bryant, the Parent Healer, and I support the Simply Monique Show. My husband and I are tuned in every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I love y'all because I can, and there is nothing you can do about it.
Hey, this is your girl, Pastor Mo, the Confident Woman, and the founding pastor of New Life International Ministries. I want you to know that I am a supporter of the Simply Monique Radio Show, and I invite you to tune in every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on all streaming platforms. This show is a platform for individuals to have authentic conversations about faith, business, and lifestyle. The Simply Monique Radio Show allows guests and her audience to be educated, empowered, and equipped to achieve personally and professionally. Sit back and listen on all streaming platforms. The Simply Monique Radio Show.
I am Jared Lasky of Fireborn Ministries, and I was graciously hosted by Monique on her radio show. And I had a great conversation with her on my podcast, Adventures in the Spirit with Jared Lasky. I fully support and endorse Monique's outreach that is reaching countless people around the world. My ministry, Fireborn Ministries, lives to see Jesus awaken this generation to the power of the Holy Spirit. Whether it's through podcasting, e-courses, webinars, seminars, conferences, coaching, books, or evangelistic crusades in places like Pakistan or India, we also liberate persecuted Christians from brick factory slavery and rehabilitate them with new jobs that help support a free educational school for poor kids in Pakistan. Our world needs the gospel, but also biblical, ethical, entrepreneurial kingdom businesses setting captives free. It's an honor to partner with Monique and see Jesus move in your life.